Want to make money selling your crafts online? In this video, we'll take a look behind the curtain and see how much it actually costs to get started in e-commerce. Hey there, I'm Janet LeBlanc from Paper and Spark, and I help makers and artists just like you start and scale online shops to achieve your entrepreneurial dreams and hit your financial goals with ease. By the end of this video, you'll know the truth about how much it costs to get started selling products online, and more importantly, you'll know what you don't need to waste your money on when you get started selling online in the beginning. So make sure to watch till the end of this video where I'm sharing 4 things you don't need to spend money on when you're getting started. I'm going to use an actual real numbers example to more effectively show you how much it costs to get started selling online. So let's say in my example, Janet wants to start a handmade earring shop. I actually did that back in 2011 on Etsy. So I'll start with the things that you actually do need to spend money on when you get started selling products online. First, I have to consider my platform fees. These vary depending on where I'm going to decide to sell online when I start, but let's say I'm starting on Etsy. It's one of the least expensive platforms to get started selling on. So I start an online shop on Etsy and list my earrings for just 20 cents each. I don't need to pay anything else to Etsy until I actually make a sale. They don't take any fees until I actually start selling. So to get started, it's 20 cents per product listing at the time when I list it. I have a whole other video diving into Etsy fees and Etsy versus Shopify and the cost of getting started here. Let's say I want to launch my shop with 15 pairs of earrings to offer. So I would pay 15 times 20 cents, which is $3, to get them all set up and listed in my new Etsy shop. So far I've spent $3. Second, how did I actually make those earrings? I need to consider my cost of my products, my supply costs. Unless I'm using upcycled or gifted materials to create my jewelry, my earrings probably cost me money to create. So don't forget to consider the cost of your raw materials and supplies for whatever products you're using to launch your shop with. Obviously, those costs are going to vary based on what you're making and selling. Like many creative people, I've probably got a large stash of sparkly things lying around to make those new earrings from before I even decided to make this a business. But let's say officially to make my 15 pairs of earrings to launch with, I went to my local bead shop and I spent $100 on some new sparkly shiny stuff. So far I've spent $103. What are you selling online? I'm curious. Share with me in the comments. The third thing, I want to operate my business legitimately right from the get-go. So I do need to get my financial ducks in a row. Some of these steps are free and some of them will cost money. If I'm selling in the US, I likely need to do some paperwork to properly register my business with the governing authorities. In most cases, that means at a minimum, getting my sales tax permit and my DBA permit. DBA stands for doing business as. It gives me the legal right to do business under a name different than my legal name, which is Janet, right? So let's say I live and run my business in Houston, which is in Harris County, Texas. I can go to my county clerk's office and get my DBA permit there for $30. I can also register for my sales tax permit with the state's Department of Revenue, and it happens to be free in the state of Texas to get a sales tax permit. So for me, my registration fees are a total of $30, but those can vary based on your location. You can expect to spend anywhere from $0 to about $100 to get properly registered. If you need more information on how to get set up legally, make sure to watch my video, The Ultimate Guide to Starting and Scaling a Handmade Shop, here. And yes, again, I'm an accountant, so I do suggest you get these legal permits as soon as you get started selling, not later on. Don't procrastinate. So far, I've spent $133 to get my business going. If you're finding this video and this example helpful so far, please don't forget to subscribe and like this video if you want more breakdowns like this. And if you have any questions about how to get your financial or legal ducks in a row, feel free to ask me in the comments. The next thing we need to consider is the cost of shipping and packaging our products. So we want to be ready to actually fill those orders once we get launched and set up online and get our first order. We need some shipping materials in order to do that. That means having things like boxes or mailers or labels ready to go. Now there's many routes you can go when getting your boxes or mailers, and it will vary based on the size of your products, what you're actually shipping. So again, the cost of this can vary. For my earrings example, I've examined a few different options. I could get a case of about 100 cheap plain earring boxes from somewhere like Uline online for about 37 bucks. Or if I already have a brand and a business name set up, I might even splurge on a case of custom branded premium boxes from somewhere like No Issue, which runs about $85. I'll also want bubble mailers to put the boxes in. The earrings will go in the boxes will go in the mailers, and then I need shipping labels to attach to the mailers. So I'm going to spend about 56 bucks on those shipping and packaging materials, which means that so far it cost me $189 to get started selling my earrings online. It's a bit bare bones, but this is basically all that I need to spend money on to actually get my shop up and running. Listing fees, legal permits, what my products cost me to make, and what my products cost me to package and ship. It's not as much as you think it would be. That being said, if you're not running on a really tight budget, there are a few optional things you could consider spending money on in order to get launched just a little bit more easily. So one of those things is a bookkeeping system. You want to be tracking your expenses as soon as possible. You can DIY this in the beginning, so it's not necessary that you invest in a bookkeeping system right away, but you might want to skip straight to something that's set up and is easy to use for creatives. I always recommend checking out Paper and Spark bookkeeping templates. Another optional expense are printed marketing materials, things like business cards, flyers, postcards, mailers that go, any sort of material that you may want to put in your packaging when you ship orders to customers. It's always a nice added bonus to have a business card to share. Next, you might want to consider spending money on advertising. If you are trying to find traffic and customers right away, then having a little bit of an advertising budget when you launch could help get you there faster. Next, you could consider spending money on a light box or any sort of lighting equipment, or even just something as simple as white foam board or white paper to make your product photos lighter, brighter, and more professional when you're getting started. You may not need to spend money on that. You may have the perfect spot in your house already where you can take light, bright photos. You may be able to work with what you have on hand, but that is something to consider investing in when you get started. The final thing that you might want to consider as an optional expense is buying a Google domain. Even if you're going to launch your shop on a platform like Etsy, it's always nice to own your URL or your domain from the beginning so that you can set up your own website when and if you're ready. So you can go ahead and reserve your domain when you launch if you want. With Google domains, it's usually just about $12 per year. Now, here are 4 things I don't recommend you spend money on when you get started because you don't need to, even though popular advice may tell you that you should. Number 1, a business bank account. There are plenty of no-fee banks to choose from. I do suggest opening a business bank account, but you shouldn't need to pay money to do this. Nowadays, there are plenty of free online no-fee options to start a business bank account. Number 2, camera equipment. You don't need to invest in an expensive point-and-shoot camera. You can use your phone to take and edit listing photos, so no need to spend additional money there. Number 3, props for your photos. Save some money and use what you already have lying around. Number 4, software. There are a lot of software apps, options, shiny things out there for creative entrepreneurs. Use the free trial or use free versions of software to get you started. Once you start getting some sales under your belt, then you can consider investing in paid options for software. But you can use free versions of things like Canva to make your marketing images or edit your photos. You can use a free version of ConvertKit to get your email list started for email marketing. You can use free versions of Tailwind or other similar software to schedule your social media posts. Don't feel like you need to pay for software right out of the gate. On that note, if you have a free favorite software for running your business, you're welcome to share it in the comments. Always looking to hear about new fun apps or software to help make running a business easier. It's easy to get caught up in analysis paralysis when we get started, or it's tempting to sink a bunch of money in shiny objects or things that we don't need to actually get your shop launched. But in reality, starting a business can be very inexpensive. It can be done with less than a couple $100s, like in my example. So what are you waiting for to get started? Now that you know you can get started for less, make sure to check out my ultimate guide to starting and scaling your handmade business, where I'm sharing 8 essential steps to getting your shop up and running.